There is a realm far more real than what your senses can touch, hear, or see. It is the realm where creation begins, the place where all things are formed before they are ever born into matter. In this unseen dimension, the declaration has already been made. You are a millionaire, not because of the balance in your current bank account, not because of the assets you own or the job you hold. You are a millionaire because the universe has already spoken it into being. The blueprint of your wealth is complete. Now the only task left is yours, to claim it. You see, manifestation is never about asking. It is about alignment. When you ask, you assume you don't have. But when you become, when you feel, when you embody, you no longer chase what is already yours, you receive it. The world responds to your inner atmosphere, not your outer words. It responds to your vibration, your identity, your self-concept. If you continue to see yourself as someone trying to become rich, the universe will keep you in the state of trying. But when you close your eyes, breathe deeply, and feel the power of already being a millionaire, the world begins to shift. Circumstances rearrange themselves. Paths you never noticed begin to light up. Resources arrive without struggle. People call you, opportunities show up, ideas strike with clarity. This is not magic, this is law. You have to understand this deeply. Wealth is not created in the future. It is realized in the now. You do not become a millionaire by someday achieving enough. You become a millionaire by stepping into that version of yourself right now. You dress like it, you walk like it, you think like it, you speak to yourself in the mirror like it, and most importantly, you feel like it. Feel the joy of financial freedom. Feel the peace of overflow. Feel the gratitude of a life of abundance. When you feel the state, you claim the state. And what you claim in consciousness, the world cannot deny you in form. The reason most people stay stuck in lack is not because the world is cruel. It's because they are loyal to a story of limitation. They wake up in lack, speak in lack, think in lack, and then wonder why lack keeps showing up. But if today you dare to change your inner world, the outer world will have no choice but to follow. You are not a prisoner to your past. You are not a victim of delay. The moment you say within yourself, it is already mine, and you believe it, the universe echoes back, yes, it is. You do not need to hustle your way into abundance. You only need to assume the role. Walk through life as the one who has already received, not arrogantly, but confidently, not with desperation, but with assurance. The trees do not beg for rain. They simply root deep and receive it. So too must you. Stop praying like a beggar. Start declaring like a co-creator. Every moment you spend doubting your wealth delays its arrival, but every moment you spend living from the end, feeling the celebration, the freedom, the legacy, brings it closer. Money is not the reward, consciousness is. When you rise in awareness, wealth follows effortlessly. You don't chase money, you attract it. And you attract it by being in the frequency where it already exists. That frequency is you at your most empowered, your most grateful, your most surrendered. When you become that version of you, the world bows. Reality bends. Because consciousness always creates. So today, stop waiting for the million to show up to believe in it. Believe in it and it will show up. Feel the richness in your soul before you see it in your wallet. Walk with the posture of one who is already living in overflow, and let the world catch up to your vision. You've been declared a millionaire, not by luck, not by chance, but by divine order. All that remains is your decision to accept it, to walk in it, to claim it, because once you do, the universe will not hesitate. It never does. It was always waiting on you. And now, you are ready. Would you like the 7 key points for this speech next, so we can expand them step by step into a full-length motivational video? We said, yes. ChatGPT said, "Here are 7 powerful key points for the speech. The universe has already declared you a millionaire. Now claim the reality," written in the style of Neville Goddard, without mentioning his name. These points are designed to be seamlessly expanded into full segments of a long-form speech. 1. You must assume the feeling of wealth before it becomes visible. The feeling of being rich precedes the manifestation of wealth. Emotion is the magnet. When you embody the emotional state of abundance, the world must conform to that in a blueprint. 2. The world mirrors your self-concept, not your desires. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you believe yourself to be. When your inner conversation aligns with the identity of a millionaire, life responds accordingly. Recreation is finished. You are not creating wealth, you are entering it. There is nothing to create, only to receive. Wealth already exists in a dimension of consciousness. You must shift your awareness into the version of you who already lives it. 4. Speak the language of wealth with your inner voice. Your internal dialogue shapes your world. Most people speak fear, worry, and doubt to themselves, and so their outer world reflects it. Your speech must align with prosperity and certainty. Stop waiting for signs. You are the sign. Waiting for outer proof delays the manifestation. You are the proof, the living evidence of faith. The moment you walk as if it's already done, you become the signal that activates the unseen. 6. Gratitude is the gateway to possession. Gratitude is not an after effect of receiving, it is the seed. When you thank the universe in advance, not in hope but in knowing, you shift into the frequency of fulfillment. 7. Walk, think, and live as if the million is already yours. Everything in your life must reflect your inner reality. From your thoughts to your posture, your choices to your energy. Act like the one who already has it, and it will not be able to stay away from you. And play. Would you like me to now expand the first point into 600, 700 words in paragraph form without a conclusion so we can begin building the full-length speech step by step? 2/2. You said, expand first 2 points, each one for 600 words. Don't add conclusion. ChatGPT said, here is the expansion of the first 2 points, each one written for approximately 600 words, in the style of Neville Goddard, without mentioning him, keeping the flow seamless and deeply resonant. 1. You must assume the feeling of wealth before it becomes visible. There is no greater truth in the art of manifestation than this. What you feel to be true within yourself becomes the form that your reality must take. Most people live their lives reacting to what they see, adjusting their beliefs based on current circumstances. But the one who understands the divine nature of creation knows that the outer world is only a reflection, a mirror of the state you consistently dwell in. If you want to see wealth, you must feel it first. Not pretend, not beg, not wish. Feel as if it is already yours. You cannot wait for your bank account to grow before you feel the peace of abundance. That peace is the key that unlocks the very doors you're hoping for. You cannot delay the emotion of prosperity until the money appears, for by doing so you delay the appearance itself. Your senses may scream lack, your surroundings may whisper doubt, but your imagination must declare otherwise. You must walk in a room not as the one seeking wealth, but as the one who already owns. Speak to yourself not as someone hoping it will happen, but as someone living inside the reality where it already has. This is not delusion, this is divine alignment. The subconscious mind, which governs the unfolding of your experiences, does not distinguish between what is real and what is vividly imagined. If you saturate your being with the emotion of already being rich, your world must reflect it. The feeling becomes the cause, and reality becomes the effect. So let your mornings begin with the inner sensation of overflow. Let your thoughts drift in the frequency of joy, security, and expansion. When you close your eyes, see your hands holding abundance. Feel the smile on your face as the weight of lack disappears. The moment you assume the feeling of wealth, something sacred begins to shift. Invisible chains break, old beliefs dissolve. You no longer seek from a place of emptiness, you express from a place of fullness. You become magnetic. The people, opportunities, and pathways that were always waiting begin to move toward you, not because you chased them, but because you aligned with them. You must carry the energy of success before success appears. You must radiate the confidence of the financially free, even if the numbers haven't changed, because your external numbers are only lagging indicators of your internal awareness. When the awareness shifts, the numbers follow. This is how the universe works, through inner cause and outer effect, not the other way around. Practice the feeling, rehearse the state, not once, not twice. Live there, dwell there. In the silence of your mind, in the posture of your walk, in the rhythm of your breath, every cell of your being must vibrate in harmony with abundance. The moment that happens, reality obeys. 2. The world mirrors your self-concept, not your desires. Desire is only the seed. It is the self-concept that determines whether that seed will grow. You may desire millions, luxury, impact, and freedom, but if your inner identity says, I am not worthy, I am always broke, I don't know how, then that desire remains trapped behind the wall of disbelief. The world does not give you what you want, it gives you what you are. And what you are is determined not by your wishes, but by the story you tell yourself about yourself. Every day, your inner dialogue becomes the architect of your life. The thoughts you repeat, the roles you accept, the beliefs you defend, these form the boundaries of your world. If you see yourself as average, your results will be average. If you believe you're unlucky with money, money will find a way to stay away. But if you begin to shape a new self-concept, if you begin to adopt the identity of someone chosen, someone rich in spirit, and destined for overflow, everything begins to bend to meet that image. You must upgrade the way you see yourself if you want to upgrade what the world reflects back to you. Imagine walking into a room full of mirrors. You do not fix the reflections. You adjust your appearance. The same law applies here. You do not manipulate circumstances. You transform yourself. And the world, like an obedient mirror, reflects that transformation in full clarity. Stop identifying with your past. Stop rehearsing the old scripts that kept you in limitation. Every time you say, this always happens to me, or I'm just not good with money, you anchor that belief deeper into your reality. But you can change the script. Right now, in this moment, you can begin to speak differently about yourself. Not based on current facts, but based on the vision of who you are becoming. Speak it before it's visible. Claim it before it's earned. Because when you say, I am a millionaire, you are not lying. You are introducing yourself to the future. And here is the mystery. Once your self-concept aligns with that vision, the world cannot resist it. You will notice a shift. Doors will open that were once closed. You'll find yourself in rooms you once only dreamed about. Not because you forced your way in, but because you became the version of you who belongs there. The change didn't happen outside, it happened within. So take time each day to redefine yourself, write a new story, embody a new belief. Repeat it until your cells believe it, until your subconscious surrenders to the truth you've chosen. When that happens, wealth becomes natural, success becomes inevitable. The mirror of life has no choice but to reflect the masterpiece you've painted within. Let me know when you're ready for the next 2 points to be expanded in the same style and structure. He said, expand next 2 points, each one for 600 words. Don't add conclusion. ChatGPT said, here is the expansion of the next 2 points, each one written for approximately 600 words, continuing in the style of Neville Goddard without mentioning him and flowing seamlessly as part of the same motivational message. Free creation is finished. You are not creating wealth, you are entering it. The idea that you must create wealth from nothing is one of the greatest illusions of the physical world. In truth, all things already exist. Every version of your life, the rich one, the struggling one, the empowered one, the defeated one, exists simultaneously in the infinite field of possibility. You are not here to struggle towards something that doesn't exist. You are here to shift your awareness to the version of you where it already does. This is not effort, this is selection. Creation is already finished. The universe has spoken the word, and the word became reality in the unseen realm. The version of you who owns the house, runs the business, travels freely, gives generously, and sleeps in peace, that version already lives in a state beyond the senses. The only task before you is to enter that state and live there mentally until the world around you mirrors it. Your job is not to push reality into form, but to step into the consciousness where that form already exists. This shift happens the moment you no longer define yourself by your current bank account, surroundings, or titles. These are not truths, they are shadows. They are echoes of the self you used to be. But your destiny is not found in the echo, it's found in the present choice. When you close your eyes and visualize yourself walking into your dream home, checking your account and seeing abundance, experiencing the joy of giving without fear, you are not daydreaming. You are tuning into a frequency that is already broadcasting. The trap is thinking it's far away. That is something you become one day once you've done enough or been enough. But this one day never arrives because you placed your wealth outside the present moment. In doing so, you've placed it forever out of reach. But when you declare it's already mine and you mean it, with your thoughts, your emotions, your breath, you pull that version of reality into your now. And this is not a matter of waiting, it's a matter of awareness. You're not asking the universe to create something for you. You're asking yourself to align with what the universe has already made available. The moment you choose that state with full inner conviction, you are no longer walking toward wealth. You are walking within it. The path reveals itself not by will, but by vibration. You don't force wealth to come. You allow it to meet you in the dimension of being. So ask yourself, who is the version of me that already has it? How do they wake up in the morning? What do they believe? How do they speak? How do they feel about money, about life, about their own worth? Begin to mimic that version now, not for performance, but for transformation. The more you live from that identity, the more that reality becomes impossible to avoid. 4. Speak the language of wealth with your inner voice. You are always in conversation, not just with others, but with yourself. And the most powerful manifestation tool is not your vision board or your affirmation spoken aloud. It is the silent script that runs through your mind when no one else is watching. That quiet inner voice, the one that comments on your actions, judges your worth, and narrates your day, that voice shapes your world more than any external act ever will. If your inner dialogue is soaked in fear, scarcity, and doubt, then your outer world will be soaked in limitation. But if your inner voice begins to echo the language of wealth, your world must rise to match it. Words are not just sounds, they are frequencies. And the words you whisper within become the mold into which reality pours itself. If you're constantly thinking, I can't afford this, money never stays with me, I'm always behind, then don't be surprised when life reflects those very statements. You are not cursed. You are simply loyal to a script that no longer serves you. And until that script changes, the story cannot change. To speak the language of wealth is not to lie to yourself. It is to choose a new truth. It is to use your inner voice not as a reporter of facts, but as a creator of futures. Start telling yourself a new narrative. Money flows to me with ease. I am always supported. I was born to thrive. These are not magic spells, they are seeds. And like any seed, they need repetition, faith, and feeling to grow. The mistake most people make is speaking from their current experience instead of their desired one. But your words must come from the future, not the past. You must speak as if the wealth is already here, even if the world says otherwise. When the voice within becomes congruent with abundance, your actions change. Your energy changes. Your posture, tone, and decisions begin to align with someone who expects good things, and that expectation is a magnet. Silence is not safety if your thoughts are hostile. It's not enough to simply avoid negative words aloud. You must go deeper. Examine the tone you use with yourself when you make a mistake. Pay attention to the way you think about money when you receive a bill or face uncertainty. Those are the moments when your inner voice reveals its allegiance, to fear or to faith. Retrain your inner dialogue like you would retrain a child. Gently but firmly. Catch yourself in the old patterns and replace them instantly. That's not me anymore. I live in overflow now. Speak it, feel it, own it, until one day you no longer have to remind yourself, because it's simply who you are. When your internal speech becomes fluent in abundance, your life begins to speak it too. Let me know when you're ready for the next 2 points to be expanded in the same deep, seamless style. You said, expand next 2 points, each one for 700 words. Don't add conclusion. ChatGPT said, here is the expansion of the next 2 points, each written for approximately 700 words, in the same deeply resonant Neville Goddard style tone you've requested. Continuing the flow without adding a conclusion. 5. Stop waiting for signs. You are the sign. So many people walk through life in hesitation, pausing at every turn, waiting for some heavenly flash of confirmation before they move forward. They plead for signs. They beg the universe to show them a signal, a green light, a whisper in the wind that says, yes, it's coming. And while that might seem spiritual on the surface, it is, at its core, a declaration of uncertainty. Because when you truly know, not hope, not wish, but know, you don't wait for a sign, you become the sign. The moment you step into your identity as the wealthy version of yourself, you cease to seek outward validation. Why? Because you realize the greatest signal the universe could ever give you is your own inner conviction. The sign is not on the license plate of the clock or in a stranger's words. The sign is in your spirit. When it awakens and says, this is already mine. This waiting posture, though subtle, is dangerous. It tells the universe, I'm not ready. It says, I don't trust my power. But when you move without needing evidence, you declare to creation, I trust who I am, and I trust what I've seen in my imagination more than what I see with my eyes. And that kind of boldness is magnetic. You are not here to follow signs. You are here to create them. You are the walking evidence of what faith looks like. When you act like the millionaire before the money shows up, when you make decisions with confidence and calm, even when things look tight, when you keep showing up to life like you've already won, people around you begin to wonder what's changed. They see something in your energy that doesn't match your current conditions. And that mismatch is the very proof that something unseen is at work. That is when you become the sign for others. It's important to understand this. The universe doesn't respond to hesitation. It responds to decision, to movement, to clarity. Life bends not for those who wait, but for those who walk. If you're constantly looking over your shoulder for some assurance, you're delaying your arrival. But when you act like it's already done, when your feet move in alignment with your vision, the universe has no choice but to catch up. Think of a seed in the ground. It doesn't wait for a sign from the sun to start growing. It just grows. It trusts the soil. It trusts the season. And eventually it pushes through. In the same way, you don't need another confirmation. You've already been called. You've already been chosen. The moment you saw the vision, the moment you imagined the life you were meant to live, that was your sign. But most people ignore that inner pull. They dismiss it because their outer life doesn't reflect it yet. But that's the test. Will you trust what's inside you even when what's around you contradicts it? Can you hold the frequency of abundance when all you see is the shadow of lack? If so, you become the living declaration of faith. You become the doorway through which wealth must enter this world, because you're no longer seeking proof. You are living proof. Your posture says, I have it. Your tone says, I expect it. And your energy becomes undeniable. That is what brings the unseen into the seen. So stop scanning the horizon for signals. Look inward. The moment you stopped doubting and started becoming, that was the sign the universe was waiting for. 6. Gratitude is the gateway to possession. There is a sacred bridge between the unseen and the seen, and that bridge is gratitude. Not the kind you offer after the gift arrives, but the kind you give before anything has physically appeared, when the blessing is still invisible, when the miracle still feels far away. That kind of gratitude is the mark of those who understand how reality is formed, because in this dimension of conscious creation, gratitude is not a response to receiving, it is the cause. When you begin to thank the universe in advance, you are not pretending, you are not faking it until you make it. You are entering the vibration of possession. You are stepping into the state of already mine. You are declaring that what you have seen in your mind is just as real or more real than what you currently see with your eyes. And that state changes everything. Most people withhold gratitude because they believe it's something you give after you've received. But that belief keeps them locked in waiting, waiting to feel good, waiting to celebrate, waiting to trust. But when you reverse the order, when you feel the joy before the arrival, when you speak thanks for $1 million life before it manifests, you activate the code of creation. You tell the universe, I believe in what I cannot yet see. And the universe responds to that belief like a command. Gratitude shifts your energy instantly. It dissolves resistance, it removes fear, it closes the gap between wanting and having. Because the moment you say thank you and mean it, not for something that might happen, but for something that has happened in the spiritual realm, you align your entire being with that outcome. Your mind, your body, your breath, your choices all begin to operate from fulfillment rather than need. And here is what's even more powerful. Gratitude rewrites your story. Every time you express it, you are affirming that you're not a victim of chance, but a partner in creation. You're not begging the universe to bless you. You're acknowledging that you've already been blessed. That shift in identity is everything, because once you believe you are already supported, already favored, already rich, then every move you make is filled with confidence, and confidence is magnetic to miracles. You don't have to wait for your circumstances to give you permission to feel thankful. Gratitude is not something you earn, it is something you choose. And when you choose it consistently, you train your mind to notice evidence of abundance, even in places where others see only lack. You begin to see opportunity in difficulty. You begin to feel supported even when no one else understands. And slowly, almost without noticing, your life rearranges itself to match the vibration of appreciation. Speak gratitude in the morning as if your entire world has already changed. Whisper thanks before sleep as if the breakthrough already occurred. Walk through your day nodding to the invisible blessings that surround you, the doors already opening, the wealth already unfolding, the peace already arriving. This is not delusion. This is dominion. Because when you are grateful for the future as if it's already here, you shorten the distance between hope and reality. You no longer wait for proof, you become the proof. Gratitude turns the imagined into the inevitable. Let me know when you're ready for the last point and the final conclusion of the entire speech. You cite, expand last point for 700 words and write the conclusion of the entire speech. ChatGPT said, here is the expansion of the final point followed by a powerful conclusion to bring the entire speech full circle, continuing in the Neville Goddard-inspired style without mentioning his name. 7. Walk, think, and live as if the million is already yours. There is no greater declaration to the universe than your daily behavior. It is not merely what you affirm, what you visualize, or what you hope for. It is how you walk, how you carry yourself, how you live each moment. When you desire wealth, the fastest way to bring it into form is to embody the version of you who already has it. Not someday, now. This doesn't mean reckless spending or pretending. It means alignment. It means every step you take reflects the belief that abundance is your natural state. It means choosing with confidence, speaking with assurance, and making decisions from the energy of someone who lacks nothing. Ask yourself daily, how would I move if I were already a millionaire? Would your spine slump or would it rise with dignity? Would you avoid people out of fear or walk boldly with clarity? Would you shrink to fit in or expand to express the truth of who you are? The way you move through the world tells the universe whether or not you're ready to receive. Every action you take is a message. When you hesitate, when you doubt, when you second guess your value, you tell creation you are not ready. But when you hold your head high, when you walk into a room as if you belong, when you treat yourself as if your future is already fulfilled, reality cannot help but reflect that back to you. This is more than mindset, it's embodiment. It's not about thinking positively in hopes that something might happen. It's about becoming the person for whom it has already happened. When your body, your thoughts, and your habits begin to mirror your desire, you are no longer seeking wealth, you are meeting it. Your energy introduces you before you speak. When you carry the frequency of wealth, others can feel it. It radiates, not in arrogance, but in certainty, not in ego, but in quiet power. You no longer need to convince others of your worth. Your presence does that for you. And that presence is born from the daily decision to live as if the million is already here. Let your habits align with your vision. Spend wisely but without fear. Invest in your growth with the knowledge that you are supported. Dress in a way that reflects respect for yourself, even if your wardrobe is simple. Speak as someone who knows what's coming, not someone hoping to survive. Every choice, from how you answer the phone to how you rest your head on the pillow, should echo the belief, I am already that. This is how you collapse time. This is how you move from waiting to receiving. Because when the future version of you becomes your current operating system, reality must follow. It has no choice. Life does not respond to passivity. It responds to conviction. And conviction is lived, not just spoken. So carry yourself like one who has already won. Take actions that reflect belief, not fear. Let your decisions say, I know who I am, and I know what's mine. Because once you begin to live as if the million is already yours, you realize something stunning. It always was. Conclusion, you are not becoming the millionaire. You already are. The journey to wealth is not a chase. It is not a grind. It is not a distant climb up a mountain of effort. It is a homecoming, a return to the truth that has always lived inside you. The universe is not waiting to reward you. It is waiting for you to remember. The moment you declare with your soul, it is already done, the entire field of reality reorganizes itself to honor that truth. You are not the one trying to become rich. You are the one who is finally waking up to the wealth that was assigned to you before you even knew to ask. Your imagination saw the life. Your heart felt the future because it was already written. And the moment you accepted it, not as a distant hope but as a current reality, you crossed the threshold from wishing to being. You assumed the feeling of wealth. You rewrote the story of who you are. You entered the version of reality where creation is finished. You trained your inner voice to speak in the frequency of abundance. You stopped begging for signs and became the evidence. You gave thanks before seeing results. And then you walked like it, breathed like it, lived like it. This is what claiming your reality looks like. So now let the world catch up. Let your circumstances realign. Let the outer conditions shape themselves around your inner truth. Because when you choose to become the wealth before it appears, when you live the millionaire reality in consciousness, you summon it into form, and the universe cannot deny a soul that knows its inheritance. You were not meant to chase wealth, you were meant to awaken to it. You were not meant to wait for riches, you were meant to embody them. You were not meant to ask for permission, you were meant to claim the reality. The declaration has already been made. Now it's your turn to say yes. Not tomorrow, not later. Now, because the universe has already declared you a millionaire, and all that remains is for you to believe it. Act as if you are surrounded by abundance. Not tomorrow, not after your circumstances change, but right now, in this very moment. Close your eyes and shut the world out for a brief while. Still the noise of your doubts and silence the whisper of your fears. Let the world say what it will. Let the evidence appear to contradict you. Let the bank account balance mock you. Let the mirror reflect something less than your ideal. But within your imagination, you must see what the outer world cannot yet comprehend. You must feel what has not yet been touched. You must walk in the atmosphere of wealth, speak in the cadence of prosperity, breathe in the fragrance of overflow. You are not meant to beg the universe for scraps. You are not here to suffer through life in a state of lack. The illusion of scarcity is only that, an illusion. But illusions are powerful if you treat them as truths. So you must train your senses to see beyond the veil. You must become blind to limitation and develop the inner sight that sees riches where others see nothing, for nothing is ever truly missing. It is only hidden by the limitations of our current state of consciousness. If you could only believe for one moment that everything you seek is already yours, you would never again complain, never again worry, never again chase. You would sit still with a calm assurance, knowing the feast has already been prepared. Not because you can see it with your eyes, but because you have accepted it with your inner being. You've made it real in your imagination, and once it is real there, the physical must bow and align itself accordingly. Imagine walking into a room, not as someone in search of approval or validation, but as someone who owns the room, owns the building, owns the land it stands on. Not in arrogance, but in certainty. Not in boastfulness, but in quiet inner security. That is the energy of someone who lives in abundance. That is the vibration of wealth, health, love, peace, and power. And that is what the world responds to. Don't wait for money to feel rich. Don't wait for love to feel love. Don't wait for success to feel worthy. That is backward living. That is why so many remain stuck. They are waiting for the outer world to change before they will allow their inner world to reflect the truth. But life does not work that way. The outer is the effect, never the cause. The cause is within. The cause is imagination. The cause is your assumption. So assume now, in this moment, that you are surrounded by abundance. Feel it brushing against your skin like the wind that precedes a storm. Hear it in the laughter that follows every answered prayer. Taste it in the peace that comes when you no longer seek because you know you already have. When you act as if you are surrounded by abundance, you invoke a power that no limitation can stand against. You call forth the hidden riches of the universe. You awaken the reality that has been waiting for you to believe. And belief is not just a thought, it is a way of being. It is how you walk, how you speak, how you carry yourself. It is what you accept as true regardless of what anyone else sees. When you embody the feeling of abundance, the world cannot help but respond in kind. It must conform to the blueprint you hold within. Everything begins in imagination. Every fortune ever created, every empire ever built, every masterpiece ever painted began in the unseen realm of thought. And you too must begin there. You must dwell there. You must remain there until the unseen becomes seen, until the internal becomes external, until the invisible becomes reality. Let others doubt, let others scoff. But you act as if you are surrounded by abundance, because the moment you do, you are. Imagination is the womb of creation. Everything that you now see, every building, every invention, every book, every dollar was once unseen, dwelling only in the invisible realm of thought. Yet there it lived more powerfully than in the material world, for it was not bound by logic or limited by circumstance. Imagination knows no boundaries. It is not concerned with what is or what was. It only asks, what shall be? And the answer it receives is always determined by the quality of consciousness that asks the question. Most people believe abundance begins with money, opportunities, or external change. But abundance begins with awareness. It begins the moment you stop looking out there and start looking within. The treasure is buried in your own mind, and the map to that treasure is your imagination. When you imagine vividly, with feeling, you are not merely playing with fantasy, you are planting seeds in the soil of the universe, and every seed must grow after its kind. The outer world, no matter how solid it appears, is soft clay in the hands of your imagination. It molds itself to the image you hold inside, whether you know it or not. To live in lack, to feel poor, to see yourself as small, this is not a result of life being unfair. It is the outpicturing of thoughts long entertained and emotions long repeated. You cannot dwell for days and months in the vibration of not enough and expect life to reward you with more. The law is precise and it does not sleep. It delivers to every man according to his inner state, not his outer effort. The dreamer shapes the dream, and the dream becomes life. So what happens when you begin to imagine yourself surrounded by abundance? When you no longer wait for circumstances to change, but instead you change your inner atmosphere. The mind becomes fertile, the body begins to relax. The tension of striving is replaced by the serenity of knowing. You no longer compete because you no longer believe in limitation. You no longer seek because you feel you already possess. And that feeling, more than any strategy, more than any plan, moves mountains. You must understand this. The outer world is an echo. It is always late. It is always reporting what has already occurred within you. You may not remember the moment you accepted lack as your identity. You may not be aware of the subtle assumptions that operate beneath your daily life. But they are there, silently crafting your experience. and they will remain there until you choose to revise them. Imagination is how you do it. Not by effort, not by manipulation, but by entering into a new reality within and living from it as though it were already done. You do not beg the sun to rise, you do not plead with the tide to return. Why then would you plead for abundance, when it is already a principle of life? The oak tree does not ask for acorns. The stars do not apologize for shining. They exist in their fullness without effort, because that is their nature. And abundance is your nature too, but you've forgotten. You were told that to receive you must earn, that to prosper you must suffer, that to be blessed you must first prove yourself worthy. But none of these things are true in the realm of imagination. In imagination you are already worthy. You are already complete. You are already enough. Begin to imagine, not casually but deliberately. Close your eyes and see yourself in rooms filled with light and comfort. Walk through gardens blooming with peace. Hear the laughter of joy-filled moments and feel the weight of gold not in your hands but in your spirit. Know what it means to wear wealth like a second skin. Not to impress, not to dominate, but to simply express the truth of your being. When this inner vision becomes real to you, when it lives in your chest like breath and beats in your heart like rhythm, then the outer world will begin to respond. Not immediately, not always predictably, but certainly. You must not ask how it will come, that is not your concern. The how belongs to life. Your role is the what and the who. What do you believe is possible? Who do you believe you are? These are the only questions that matter. If you believe yourself to be surrounded by lack, you will notice it in every corner. But if you believe yourself to be surrounded by wealth, even while the evidence says otherwise, you will begin to see opportunities where others see dead ends. You will hear the knock of provision in the silence. You will feel doors opening in the stillness. Imagination is not escape. It is engagement. It is the most powerful engagement with the real world that you can make, for it is the only place where transformation begins. When you change your inner image, the mirror of the world must change. It cannot remain the same, for it is only a reflection of your state. What is unseen shapes what is seen, and you are the master of what is unseen in your life. So go on. Dare to imagine the best. Walk in rooms your feet have not yet touched. Shake hands with destiny. Sit at the table already prepared for you. Speak as though the future has arrived, because in truth it already has. It's just waiting for you to see it. The moment you do, the illusion of scarcity begins to crumble, and the richness of life steps forward to greet you. Life from the end, not toward it. This is the greatest secret kept from those who struggle their whole lives to get somewhere they believe they are not. The masses wait for the outer world to grant them permission to feel fulfilled. They wait for the job offer before they feel successful. They wait for love before they feel worthy. They wait for money before they feel rich. But life does not work that way. Reality is not a random sequence of external events. It is a faithful servant to the state you dwell in. When you dwell in lack, the world mirrors it back to you. When you dwell in fulfillment, fulfillment becomes your world. It may seem backward to the logical mind, but the truth is undeniable once experienced. You must feel the end to see the end. You must assume the state of already having, already being, already living the result. To live from the end is to abandon the illusion of waiting. There is no waiting in truth, only choosing. And in every moment you are choosing what to occupy within yourself. If you continue to live from the beginning, from a state of becoming, you create a life of perpetual reaching, never arriving. Your hands will always be stretched forward, but never holding. Your eyes always looking outward, but never seeing. Your soul always hungering, but never feasting. But when you dare to reverse the order, to begin at the destination in your imagination, something profound begins to shift. You are no longer the seeker, you are the beholder. You are no longer the beggar, you are the possessor. And the world responds in quiet amazement to the confidence you exude without needing validation. People misunderstand what it means to live from the end. It does not mean pretending in a shallow, performative way. It does not mean spending recklessly or acting superior. It means embodying the feeling of your wish fulfilled so completely that you no longer question its reality. You no longer pray out of desperation, but out of gratitude. You no longer visualize because you lack, but because you already know. You've moved into the spiritual territory where belief becomes fact, not because the evidence proves it, but because you have decided it is so. Think of an actor playing a role. When fully immersed in the character, he no longer tries to be the person, he is the person. His posture changes, his voice, his energy. He walks in a world that aligns with that character story. The actor becomes the embodiment of the script. And in the same way, you must become the embodiment of your desire's outcome. You must walk, talk, breathe, and rest as the version of yourself who has already received. If the end you desire is abundance, then how would abundance move? How would it speak? How would it approach today? When you live from the end, you begin to treat life differently. You're no longer desperate for signs because you are the sign. You are no longer swayed by delay because you understand that time is the tool of unfolding, not the ruler of truth. You no longer panic at challenges because you already know how the story ends. You've seen the last page, and it is good. And so you can be still in the chaos, centered in the noise, grounded in the winds of change. To live from the end is to live with unshakable inner peace, the kind that can only come when you have stopped negotiating with the present and started agreeing with the future. Your circumstances may look unchanged, but within, a revolution has begun. You are no longer asking life to give you what you want. You are giving life the blueprint to follow, and it will follow. It has no choice. The law is clear. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and it will harden into fact. But the assumption must be sincere. It must saturate your being. It must be the dominant tone of your inner world, louder than doubt, stronger than fear, deeper than memory. You cannot live from the end while holding on to the past. The old story must die for the new one to rise. You must release the identity that complains, that struggles, that fears rejection or ridicule. That version of you does not belong in the new world you are imagining, and you cannot take it with you. So let it go. Let go of the false sense of safety that comes from preparing for disappointment. Let go of the habit of self-sabotage disguised as realism. Let go of the timeline you've set and the conditions you've created. None of them matter in the realm of imagination. There, only the end matters. Only the final act. When you make the end real in your mind, the universe begins to conspire on your behalf. You meet people who seem random, but they are not. You are offered opportunities that align perfectly with the world you've already built within. You find yourself speaking with a new authority because you are no longer seeking validation. You are living in your truth. This is not magic, this is law. This is the design of reality. And those who understand it live lives that others call miraculous. You are always creating from something. You are either creating from the past, repeating cycles, echoing trauma, reliving stories of lack, or you are creating from the end, pulling the future into the now, manifesting from the center of completion. It is a choice you make not once, but every moment. Every time you think of your dream, ask yourself, am I living toward it or from it? Am I still chasing or have I arrived? The end is not something far away. It is here, waiting for you to accept it. The only distance between you and it is the separation in your mind. Close that gap. Collapse the space between desire and possession by assuming the state of fulfillment. Do not worry how others will see you. They are only reacting to the frequency you radiate. And when you radiate the end, the whole world begins to arrange itself accordingly, because life always answers the one who already knows. Feeling is the secret doorway to manifestation. It is not the words you say or the thoughts you repeat that shape your reality. It is the feeling behind them that gives them life. You can affirm abundance 1,000 times, but if your heart beats with anxiety, if your stomach twists with doubt, if your breath shortens with fear, then it is not abundance you are creating. You are only echoing lack through the hollow halls of empty. But when you feel abundance, when you truly allow the sensation of having to rise within you as if it were already real, then something shifts. The entire atmosphere of your inner world changes, and life bends to reflect the new tone you've set. Feeling is not some shallow emotional surge. It is the deep, steady current that runs beneath your thoughts. It is the quiet knowing, the silent agreement between your soul and the unseen realm. It is not loud, but it is powerful. It is not dramatic, but it is unshakable. And it is in this silent language of feeling that the universe hears your request. It doesn't listen to what you say, it listens to what you mean, to what you believe in the quiet moments when no one is watching. That's where the real work of creation happens. Not on the surface of spoken words, but in the depths of felt truth. When you begin to feel as if your desire is already fulfilled, you enter into the state where miracles are not rare but inevitable. It is not your job to know how things will come about. That burden is not yours. Your only responsibility is to accept the gift inwardly, before it ever arrives outwardly. If you feel rich now, you are rich. If you feel loved now, you are loved. If you feel free now, you are free, because feeling is the signal that summons the thing you've claimed. And once that signal is strong enough, consistent enough, aligned enough with your inner state, the outer world must shift to match it. It cannot remain unchanged. People are always trying to change their outer world without changing their inner world. They chase results, they force situations, they exhaust themselves in effort, but they do not feel what they want to create. And that is why it eludes them. They are chasing shadows rather than embodying light. They speak of goals, but they carry the weight of disbelief. They say they want love, but they fear it. They say they want wealth, but they feel guilty when they imagine it. They do not understand that feeling is not the result of manifestation. It is the cause. It is the soil from which the tree grows. It is the fire that ignites the substance of things hoped for. To feel the wish fulfilled is to walk in the rain before the storm clouds have gathered. It is to rejoice before the harvest, to celebrate before the wedding, to give thanks before the gift has arrived. And this is not delusion, it is alignment. It is truth on a deeper level than the physical, for the physical is slow to respond. It moves on the tracks laid by your inner world. If the tracks are laid in fear and doubt, the train cannot bring your desire. But if they are laid in faith and feeling, the train must arrive on time and in perfect form. Your body is the instrument through which feeling plays its music, and like any instrument, it must be tuned. You must learn to listen to the subtle cues of your being. How do you feel when you think of your desire? Do your shoulders tense or do they relax? Does your breath deepen or does it catch? These are signals. These are the vibrations you are offering. And the world is responding not to your words, but to your vibration. You cannot fake it. You cannot force it, but you can shift it. Slowly, gently, through attention. Begin with imagination. Picture the scene that implies your desire has already come to pass. See it in detail, hear the sounds, smell the air, feel the textures, but most importantly, feel you, your posture, your emotion, your energy in that scene. Let the joy of fulfillment rise within you naturally. Let the peace of completion settle over you like a warm blanket. Don't try to make it happen. Let it happen. Allow it to unfold like a flower opening to the morning light. Stay in that feeling. Rest in it. Return to it often. Let it become your home. The world will try to distract you. It will tempt you to return to fear. It will offer you evidence of lack. But you must remain faithful to your inner state. Feeling is not a one-time act. It is a continual choice, a daily surrender to the reality you have chosen. You may not see results immediately, but do not be discouraged. The seed does not sprout the moment it is planted. It grows in silence beneath the surface, hidden from view, but it is growing. And so is your desire. Every time you feel as if you already have what you've asked for, you water the seed. Every time you return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you bring it closer to manifestation. You are building the invisible structure upon which the visible will rest. And once that structure is strong enough, it will break through the soil of your life. You will see it, touch it, live it, and you will know that it was the feeling, not the effort, not the logic, not the strategy that brought it to you. The greatest power you possess is your ability to feel on purpose, to feel joy before the reason, to feel love before the lover, to feel wealth before the check. That is how the laws of this universe are written. That is how life responds. So feel now as if everything is already yours, because in truth it is, and your feeling is the key that unlocks the door. Ignore present limitations and walk in faith. That is the true test of whether you are living from the end or still tethered to appearances. The physical world will always present you with reasons to doubt. It will show you empty bank accounts, broken relationships, unfulfilled dreams, and delayed promises. It will whisper to you that your efforts are in vain, that nothing is changing, that your imagination is foolish. But if you are governed by what you see, then you are not free. If you only believe when the evidence arrives, then you are not in faith, you are in reaction. And those who live in reaction are forever chasing what they can never catch. But those who ignore present limitations, who walk as though the promise is already fulfilled, they enter a different realm entirely. A realm where miracles unfold not because they beg for them, but because they expect them. To walk in faith is to anchor yourself in a truth that is invisible to the eye but undeniable to the spirit. It is to see the sun through the storm, to feel warmth in the cold, to celebrate while the walls still stand. You don't argue with them. You don't let them tell you who you are or what is possible. You move through them like one who has already arrived. Because in your imagination, you have. Most people wait for circumstances to confirm their new identity. But you must understand, circumstances are not the cause, they are the result. They are echoes of the vibrations you carried yesterday. And if you respond to them emotionally, if you let them dictate your state, you only recreate the same experience again. You perpetuate the cycle. But when you ignore the limitations, when you look past the lack, when you refuse to be disturbed by what seems to be, you break the pattern. You interrupt the loop. You declare that something new is being born in you, and that it does not require external confirmation to be real. Walking in faith does not mean blind optimism. It means conscious choice. It means deliberately shifting your focus from what is to what you choose to believe. It means choosing inner truth over outer noise. And that is not always easy. Everything around you may scream, not yet. Your bank account may say, not enough. Your surroundings may reflect, not possible. But what matters is not the voice of the world. It's the voice you agree with. You can agree with fear, or you can agree with faith. You can agree with the evidence of the senses, or you can agree with the knowing in your spirit. One keeps you bound, The other sets you free. Think about a gardener who plants a seed. He does not dig it up every day to check if it's growing. He doesn't panic when he sees only dirt. He knows the seed is doing its work, even in darkness, even in silence. He waters it, he nurtures the soil, he waits with quiet confidence, not because he sees the plant, but because he trusts the process. And that is how you must treat your desires. They are seeds planted in the soil of your imagination. You may not see results immediately, you may not feel different right away, but the process has begun. And your job is not to question the pace. It is to remain faithful to the vision, to believe in what you cannot yet touch. When you walk in faith, you don't need proof. You become the proof. Your calm, your peace, your posture, your language, they all speak on your behalf. People will notice something different about you, not because your life has changed on the outside, but because you have changed on the inside. And the inner change always precedes the outer one. It may take time, it may unfold slowly, like the sunrise, but it is coming. And if you do not faint, if you do not give up, if you do not bow to appearances, you will see it with your own eyes. Present limitations are not your prison. They are your test. They ask you, do you still believe? They challenge your resolve. They demand that you rise above sight and step into vision. And this is where most people quit. They see no progress, so they assume it isn't working. They feel doubt, so they conclude their desire is out of reach. But you are different. You know that feelings come and go. You know that reality is pliable. You know that what is seen is not final, and so you press on. Not with force, but with faith. Not with anxiety, but with assurance. Ignore the bank account. Ignore the silence. Ignore the closed doors. Not because they don't exist, but because they are not the final chapter. The story is still being written. And you are the author. You choose how it ends by choosing how you respond now. And if your response is one of faith, of steadiness, of unshaken belief, then what you've imagined must come to pass. It has no choice. It is law. The world belongs to those who believe in what they cannot see, those who dare to stand tall in the face of contradiction, those who walk as if the promise is already fulfilled, those who look at the desert and feel the rain. This is not madness. This is power. This is creation. This is life in its highest form, not lived by chance, but by choice. And the moment you choose faith over fear, truth over facts, vision over evidence, you step into your divine inheritance. The limitations may still be there, but they can no longer hold you, because your spirit has already moved beyond them. And where the spirit goes, the body must follow. Ignore present limitations and walk in faith. For the seen world is only a shadow of the unseen. It is not the origin of your destiny, but the echo of what you have already assumed within. If you are constantly checking your current surroundings to determine whether you are worthy, whether you are progressing, or whether your dream is valid, then you are living by sight and not by spirit. The man who lives by sight is always subject to fluctuation because the outer world is never still. It shifts like wind across water. But the one who walks in faith holds to an invisible standard. They are governed not by what is, but by what shall be, not by evidence, but by truth, not by limitations, but by vision. There is no power in reacting to limitation. When you dwell in the feeling of frustration, discouragement, or defeat, because your dream has not yet arrived, you only recreate more of the same. The present reality is not here to trap you. It is here to be transformed. And transformation begins the moment you stop giving the present moment the authority to dictate your belief. It is not your jailer unless you let it be. It is not your truth unless you crown it so. The world may show you emptiness, but that does not mean you are empty. It may reflect delay, but that does not mean you are denied. Delay is not denial, unless you accept it as such. When you walk in faith, you redefine what your senses tell you. You assign new meaning to old patterns. You lift your vision higher than your current horizon. Faith is not passive. It is the bold decision to trust in the invisible more than the visible. It is the internal stance that says, what I see may not match what I believe, but what I believe will change what I see. Faith ignores the evidence of limitation, not by pretending it isn't there, but by refusing to bow to it. It sees the numbers, the silence, the resistance, and still says, I am exactly where I need to be. What I desire is already mine. It is not blindness, it is deeper sight, sight that sees beyond appearance into potential, into destiny, into certainty. There is a temptation to wait for life to change before allowing yourself to feel secure, to wait for the promotion, the opportunity, the relationship before feeling fulfilled. But this is backward. Life cannot bring you what you refuse to feel. The inner world must go first. And sometimes that means walking with empty hands and full faith. It means smiling while nothing has arrived. It means giving thanks when there's no visible reason to be grateful. It means carrying the energy of arrival while your feet are still in the desert. That's when real power begins to move. Not when you react to change, but when you become the change before it has a name. People often ask how to hold on to faith when everything seems to contradict it. The answer lies not in fighting the present, but in transcending it. Don't wrestle with what is. Rise above it. You rise above by shifting your focus, by tuning your inner state to the frequency of fulfillment. You speak from the mountaintop even when you're in the valley. You think from the end even while standing at the beginning. That's what it means to walk in faith. To walk not according to sight, but according to a higher vision that the world cannot yet see. You stop asking, when will it come? And start declaring, it is done. The world is filled with noise, distractions, and contradictions. Every day, it will try to pull you back into the illusion that you are separate from what you want. It will try to seduce you with reasons to doubt, to give up, to shrink. But you must hold your ground in the unseen. Speak life into silence. Hold peace in uncertainty. Carry joy into loneliness. And each time you do, you are building a reality more powerful than the one you see. You are training your spirit to lead and your senses to follow. You may feel pressure to explain your vision to others, to justify your confidence when results haven't yet shown up. But you owe no explanation. Faith doesn't ask for permission or understanding. It asks for conviction. It asks for persistence. Others may not understand why you're so sure, why you act as if the outcome is already certain. Let them wonder. Their understanding is not your requirement. Their agreement is not your necessity. You are not here to convince them. You are here to align with your destiny. It is a quiet, holy rebellion to choose belief in the face of absence, to declare abundance when all you see is lack, to claim healing while still in pain. This is the strength of the soul, to decide what is real, not based on appearances, but based on revelation. You have seen something within, and that vision is more real than any fact before you. That's why you no longer panic. That's why you no longer beg. You are not waiting, you are becoming. And the world will catch up, as it always does, to the one who dares to walk in unseen truth. You must begin with the end in mind, not the end in fear, not the end in uncertainty, but the end clothed in assurance. Imagine right now that life is not a puzzle to be solved, but a script you are writing, and in this script, everything always works out for you. Not sometimes, not in rare moments of grace, but always. Every event bends toward your benefit. Every circumstance rearranges itself for your elevation. And even what seems like delay is simply preparation in disguise. You were never meant to be a victim of life. You are the author. You were never meant to react endlessly to circumstances. You were meant to create them. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you are not hoping, you are knowing. You walk into rooms expecting favor. You face obstacles with an inner calm because you know they are stepping stones, not stumbling blocks. The world begins to reflect your inner conviction. The mirror cannot reflect what the face refuses to show. You cannot plant a seed and keep doubting its growth. The gardener does not dig up the soil every day to check if the roots are taking hold. He waters it, he nourishes it, and he waits because he knows. That is the level of certainty you must bring to your imagination. Assume the result. Wear the feeling of everything working out. Let it sink into your bones until it becomes your natural response, until it is no longer something you practice. It is simply who you are. The person who walks by faith does not require proof. They live in the end. They feel the joy of a resolved problem, even while others still see chaos. They dance in celebration, while others mourn in doubt. Because to act as if everything works out for you is not delusion, it is creation. You're not ignoring facts, you're commanding them. You're not blind to reality, you are shaping it. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. You are aligning yourself with the truth that consciousness is the only reality, that what you accept within must be mirrored without. So if you can truly accept deeply and completely that life bends in your favor, then life must obey. The bridge of incidents will form, people will show up, conversations will unfold, doors will open, not because you forced them, but because you became the version of yourself for whom these things naturally happen. When something appears to go wrong, you don't panic. You persist. You return to the state of knowing. You return to the end where it already worked out. You walk through the storm holding the feeling of sunlight on your face. And in time, the storm dissipates, and your inner world becomes your outer world. To act as if everything works out for you is to carry peace into battle, clarity into confusion, certainty into unknowns. It is to whisper to yourself in silence, I already have what I desire. I already am who I desire to be. And then watch as life rearranges itself, not in rebellion, but in obedience to your inner law. So don't just believe in miracles, expect them. Don't just visualize a better life, embody it. Don't just wish things were better, act as though they already are. Because the moment you accept that everything always works out is to occupy the state where the universe has no already fulfilled, but to catch up. It is not a wishful stance nor a hopeful one. It is a knowing. It is the difference between longing for something and having it. And the mind, when properly disciplined, can create this internal certainty with such clarity that the outer world must conform to it. Living from the end is not about changing the world through effort. It is about changing yourself inwardly to the point where the world reflects your new state. When you truly dwell in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, your conversations change, your posture shifts, your expectations rise, and your energy becomes unmistakable. People feel it, opportunities sense it, and reality begins to rearrange itself accordingly. This inner stance is not something you turn on and off like a switch. It becomes your natural identity. You no longer say, I hope this happens, but instead, I'm thankful it already has. You begin to see yourself as someone who simply lives in the blessing. There's no begging, no bargaining with life. There's only calm authority, an inner calmness that flows from knowing how things end before they begin. Because when you dwell in the end, you know that the ending is certain. You feel the peace of answered prayer, even if the world hasn't yet delivered the package. It's already yours in consciousness, and what is yours in consciousness must become yours in form. People often get caught up in asking how something will happen, but when you live from the end, you never concern yourself with how. The how is never your domain. The how belongs to the unseen laws that govern this universe, and those laws respond only to your assumption, not your anxiety. When you live from the end, you understand that your only job is to feel the end as real, to see yourself there so vividly that the means to get there must arise naturally. You become like the actor who embodies a role so deeply, the performance is no longer acting. It is truth. You don't pretend to be wealthy, healed, loved, or successful. You simply walk, breathe, and exist in the assumption that you already are. Think of a person lost in a beautiful dream. In the dream, they walk the streets of a new city, feel the sun on their skin, hear the voices of people congratulating them, experience the joy of success or reunion. While dreaming, it all feels real. The body may still be in bed, but the soul is already there. This is the same principle. You live in the dream, not to escape reality, but to create it. Your outer life begins to organize itself around the internal dream, and over time, the dream hardens into fact. This is not fantasy. It is the law of life. You may look around and not yet see the evidence. Your bank account may not yet show the numbers. The people you wish to connect with may not have called. The health you imagine may not yet show in your body. But that's irrelevant. The truth is not what the senses report. The truth is what you've accepted as real within. The outer world is a mirror, delayed but faithful. It reflects what you hold inside. So when you live from the end, you're not waiting. You are aligning. You are tuning your soul to the station of fulfillment. And like a radio, you only hear what you're tuned into. Tune into disappointment, and life will echo it. Tune into gratitude for already having, and life will echo that. Living from the end requires discipline of attention. It means refusing to react to appearances. It means denying the evidence of the senses when they contradict your assumption. This is not denial of reality, but selection of reality. For in a world of infinite possibilities, the one you most persistently imagine is the one that manifests. You must remind yourself, again and again, that your world is not shaped by what you observe, but by what you accept. Acceptance is the key. When you accept a state as yours, you move into it effortlessly. And once you've moved into the state, the details fill in around you. Life fills in the blanks. People show up. Coincidences occur. You find yourself at the right place at the right time, saying the right thing. And it feels so natural that you may forget you ever imagined it first. Living from the end is also an act of detachment, not from your desire, but from the lack of it. You stop checking for signs. You stop questioning when it will happen. You stop comparing your journey to others. You walk as if it's already done. You smile for no reason. You breathe easier. You let go of the strain and step into the joy of the fulfilled version of yourself. You don't chase, you attract, because the fulfilled version of you does not chase. The fulfilled version of you is magnetic. It draws people, events, and circumstances that match the state. And this drawing power comes not from willpower, but from inner certainty. The world responds most powerfully to those who have nothing to prove. And when you live from the end, you become that kind of person. You no longer defend your worth. You no longer seek permission. You no longer wait for external validation. You are enough. You are whole. You are already there. And the world, as it must, adjusts itself to your assumption. You find that people start treating you differently, not because they've changed, but because your inner stance has. You see new doors open not because you begged for them, but because you were already walking through them in imagination long before they appeared. So living from the end is not a practice you do once a day. It's a state you dwell in. It's not about repeating affirmations for a few minutes and returning to fear. It's about staying in the feeling of the end until it becomes so natural that anything contrary to it feels foreign. The moment you truly dwell in the end is the moment your inner world begins to command the outer. And from that place, all things must unfold, not as effort, but as expression of who you now are. Inner conviction is the quiet force that shapes everything. It is not loud, not boastful, not theatrical. It moves silently beneath the surface, yet it determines the entire flow of your life. What you deeply believe, what you accept without question, becomes the foundation of every experience you encounter. When you carry the unwavering assumption that everything always works out for you, this inner certainty starts to color how you walk, how you speak, how you interpret events, and how others respond to you. Reality, as solid as it may seem, is far more malleable than most realize. It does not operate independently of your inner world. It follows it. This is the great secret most never discover, that belief is not passive, it is creative. What you believe about yourself and your life forms the blueprint upon which reality is built. If you believe that you're unlucky, unsupported, or doomed to struggle, your world begins to echo that belief back to you in countless ways. It's not a punishment, it's a mirror. And when you shift the belief, when you begin to accept deeply and fully that everything is conspiring for your good, then the mirror must shift its reflection too. Not immediately, perhaps, but inevitably. Inner conviction rewrites outer reality because the outer is not the cause, it is the effect, and your dominant feeling, the persistent mood you carry, is the signal that informs what life must send back. People often wait for proof before they believe, but life doesn't work like that. Waiting to see something before believing it is like refusing to turn on a lamp until the room lights up by itself. The light of your belief comes first. It illuminates the path ahead, and if your inner world radiates the certainty that everything works out for you, life will have no choice but to align with that truth. Not because you manipulated it, but because you became one with the reality you desire. You moved into the state where all is well, and that state becomes your home. And as with any home, what you dwell in eventually defines you. It doesn't matter how many times things have gone wrong in your past. It doesn't matter how long you felt stuck. The past has no power unless you give it permission. The only thing that matters is what you accept as true right now. Right now, you can decide that from this moment forward, life bends toward your highest good. You can decide that your desires are valid, that your goals are achievable, and that your path is guided, even when you don't see how. And when that decision becomes a conviction, it starts to alter your emotional responses, your interpretations of setbacks, and your interactions with others. What once looked like a barrier now looks like a blessing in disguise. What once triggered anxiety now awakens trust. The world hasn't changed. Inner conviction is not something you force. And so the world must reflect it is something you cultivate. It grows stronger every time you return to the vision of your fulfilled desire. Every time you feel it real, every time you assume it's done, every time you act from the state of already having it. It takes root deeper within you, and eventually it becomes so real on the inside that any lack of evidence on the outside no longer bothers you. You stop reacting, you stop explaining yourself, you stop needing validation. You rest in the knowing. You stop trying to figure it all out because you trust that it's already working out. And that trust becomes a magnet. It draws the exact circumstances, people, and opportunities that match your inner state. Some will call this delusion. They will say you're ignoring facts. But in truth, you're choosing which facts to energize. You're choosing which reality to invest your belief in. Because even facts are not final. They are temporary appearances shaped by prior assumptions. And what you assume now begins the creation of new facts. So why not assume the best? Why not walk in the conviction that the universe is rigged in your favor? Why not carry the sense that you are always in the right place at the right time, that every delay is divine timing, and that every closed door is redirection, not rejection? This is not a mindset you apply selectively. It is a life you embody. It's how you move through your day. You wake up expecting goodness. You go to sleep trusting that things are unfolding. You interpret detours as divine setups. You stop taking things personally because you know that what is truly yours cannot miss you. And even in moments of discomfort, you hold to your inner truth. Everything works out for me. Not because I'm lucky, not because I'm special in the eyes of the world, but because I've chosen to live in alignment with the reality I've imagined. I've chosen to assume that my life flows in harmony with my highest good. And that assumption is enough. The truth is, life will always reflect your strongest assumptions. And if you make the conviction that all things work in your favor, your dominant inner state, then the evidence will come, not to convince you, but to celebrate with you. You'll look around one day and realize that everything is different, not because the world changed first, but because you did. Your thoughts softened, your beliefs elevated, emotional tone shifted from fear to faith. And as your inner garden blossomed, so too did the outer. This is the sacred art of living with conviction, not blind faith, but felt reality. It is the difference between hoping and knowing. And once you truly know, you no longer chase results. You rest in your inner certainty, and life, as it must, rises to meet you there. Persistence is the quiet strength that moves mountains, even when no one sees it happening. It is the invisible decision to remain loyal to your vision, even when your senses scream otherwise. When you walk in the assumption that everything always works out for you, the world might not immediately agree. It may present situations that seem contrary. It may offer delays, detours, or silence. But none of these appearances matter to the one who truly understands the power of persistence. Because you are not seeking evidence, you are creating it. You are not waiting for life to approve your dream. You are living from the conviction that it is already done. And in this space of inner authority, persistence is no longer effort. It becomes a form of alignment. Those who truly manifest the life they desire are not necessarily the most talented, lucky, or well-connected. They are the ones who persist in the unseen. They hold their inner stance, regardless of outer noise. They remain rooted in their belief, not because circumstances are favorable, but because they know the seed has already been planted. And they don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. They water it with faith, they shine light on it with gratitude, and they persist, not because they are forcing the outcome, but because they have already accepted it as real. When appearances contradict your desire, that is the moment your faith is tested. It's easy to believe when the signs are everywhere. But real transformation happens when nothing seems to support your belief, and you still choose to persist. You still choose to feel as though it's already done. You still walk with the same confidence, speak with the same assurance, and carry the same peace. Because to you, the end is already written. The outer world is simply catching up. Persistence is the refusal to be distracted by temporary appearances. It is the inner discipline that says, I will not abandon the reality I have imagined just because the present moment doesn't reflect it yet. You understand that the outer world is delayed. It is not the source, it is the echo. And the echo always comes after the sound. So you keep speaking the language of your fulfilled desire. You keep living in the feeling of it. And eventually the echo arrives. This is not about repetition for the sake of repetition. It's about saturation. It's about saturating your mind with the image and feeling of your fulfilled state until it becomes your natural mood, until it becomes more real to you than what your eyes see. That is the moment when manifestation becomes inevitable, because your internal world is no longer reacting to the external, it is leading it. But there are moments when doubt will whisper in your ear, asking you to be realistic, asking you to lower your expectations. But if you surrender to doubt, you step out of the creative state. You hand over your power to the external world and ask it to tell you what is possible. But when you persist, you stay rooted in the truth that you are the operant power, that nothing moves in your world unless it moves through you first. So even when your heart trembles and the evidence is absent, you do not waver. You persist in the assumption that everything works out for you because you know it's already true in the unseen. To persist is to carry peace into chaos. It is to smile at what once triggered panic. It is to remain unmoved while the world reorganizes itself to mirror your belief. Because persistence does not demand, it knows. It does not strive, it allows. And it does not chase. There is a stillness that comes with true persistence. You no longer obsess over how things will unfold. You no longer need constant reassurance. You have gone beyond the need for signs because you have become the sign. Your inner world is so saturated with the end result that any deviation feels temporary. You know it's all part of the unfolding. You don't rush the process. You trust it. And in that trust, your energy becomes magnetic. You draw what you need without effort because your conviction is now the dominant vibration. People often mistake waiting for persistence. But waiting is passive. Persistence is active, but not in the way of striving or chasing. It's active in your consciousness. You remain mentally faithful to the state of the wish fulfilled. That is the true work. And it's not always glamorous. It's done in silence. It's done in solitude. It's done when no one is watching. But it's the most powerful act you can perform. Your reality does not respond to fleeting desire. It responds to persistent assumption. The assumption you return to again and again becomes the seed that life nourishes. And even when storms come, you hold steady. You do not interpret difficulty as denial. You interpret it as refinement, as preparation, as the sculpting of your character to match your desire. And you persist, not because you're forcing your will on the world, but because you've already received it in your spirit. And what is received within must be expressed without. Think of the artist who sees the final painting before the first stroke is made. The painting lives within him. He persists through each stage, not because he hopes it will become what he sees, but because he already sees it as complete. Every stroke is an act of faith. Every brush is a declaration of the finished work. That is how you must live. Every action, every thought, every word, let them all be born from the vision of the fulfilled state. Persistence becomes your posture. It becomes your home. And from that home, you begin to view life differently. You no longer panic at setbacks. You no longer fear delays. You see each moment as working in your favor, even if it disguises itself as resistance. Because you are not reacting to life, you're commanding it. And you command it by persisting in your chosen state. The world will test your resolve. It will ask if you really believe. And your answer is not in your words, it's in your persistence. It's in the quiet confidence you carry when nothing around you seems to agree. That is when the shift begins. That is when the unseen starts to move. Because you dared to hold the vision. You dared to stay faithful to the unseen. And life, as it must, bows to the one who does not waver. Your imagination is not a passive daydreaming machine. It is the divine tool through which reality is formed. It is not something to be used occasionally when you're trying to escape life. It is the very power that designs life. Everything you experience now was first born in someone's imagination, whether it was conscious or unconscious. Every building you see, every system you operate in, every relationship dynamic you find yourself in, it all began as an idea, as a mental image, held with enough focus and emotion that it found its way into form. When you begin to understand that your imagination is not just for fantasy but for function, everything changes. You start to approach your inner world with reverence. You begin to treat your thoughts like seeds and your feelings like the soil they grow in. Most people imagine by default, not by design. They rehearse worry instead of success. They visualize worst-case scenarios and call it being realistic. But they do not realize that the universe does not judge whether your imagination is used for fear or for faith. It simply responds to the dominant vision you hold. If you constantly imagine things going wrong, doors closing, people turning against you, then you are scripting that outcome. You are writing a play that life will be forced to perform. But the moment you flip that script, when you imagine victory, harmony, progress, abundance, then you begin to reshape the story. What you consistently imagine begins to sink into your subconscious mind. And once the subconscious accepts it, it becomes automatic. Your reactions change, your mood changes, your energy shifts. You start to speak from a different place, walk differently, think differently. And all of it flows from the blueprint you carry within. The subconscious is not creative, it is obedient. It does not argue, it executes. And what it executes is the plan you give it, over and over, in vivid emotional imagination. You must remember that imagination is not fantasy. It is rehearsal. It is preparation. It is construction. When you imagine yourself as confident, healthy, successful, and deeply at peace, you are not escaping reality. You are building it. The outer world has no choice but to reflect what you have already completed inwardly. So many people exhaust themselves trying to manipulate the external world. They chase relationships. They beg for opportunities. They seek validation. But they do not realize that the external is only a reflection. It has no power of its own. You do not need to beg the mirror to show a different face. You need to change the expression you are wearing. When you adjust your internal image, the mirror has no choice. It reflects you instantly. This is how reality works. If you hold a self-image of being unloved, unsupported, or unsuccessful, then life must echo that back to you. It is not cruelty, it is law. And that same law will work for you, not against you. The moment you begin to consistently imagine yourself as you wish to be. To do this properly, you must learn to quiet the outer world. You must find moments to withdraw from the noise, from the chatter of doubt, from the opinions of others. In stillness, your imagination becomes sharp. You can hear your inner voice again. You can feel the truth of what you desire. And in that space, you begin to feel the scene of your fulfilled wish. Not watch it like a movie, but feel it as though it's real. What would it feel like if you were already there? What would you see? What would you hear? Who would you be? These are not just questions, they are invitations. And as you accept the invitation to live in the end, your imagination starts to take form. It becomes your home. You live from that state, not just in meditation, but in waking life. People who understand the power of imagination stop reacting to the world. They become deliberate creators. They do not concern themselves with how something will come. They focus only on assuming it already has. The how is not their job. The how belongs to the same intelligence that grows trees, orchestrates the stars, and beats your heart without you thinking about it. You are not meant to micromanage life. You are meant to imagine it into being and then live in alignment with that image. When you do, life bends to meet you where you stand. Your imagination is also your sanctuary. In times of disappointment or confusion, it offers you a safe space to recalibrate. You can return to your inner world, rebuild the scene, and step back into the feeling of fulfillment. It is not about ignoring problems. It is about remembering your power. When something outside doesn't go your way, you don't spiral, you go within. You revise the moment, you create a new outcome in imagination. And if you remain faithful to that image, the world adjusts. It has no choice. You must become emotionally involved with your imagined scene. Feel it so deeply that it becomes more real than your current conditions. That feeling is the fuel. Without feeling, imagination is lifeless. But when emotion and imagination merge, creation begins. The subconscious accepts the scene as fact, and circumstances start to move. The bridge of incidents begins to form. People enter your life, conversations change, coincidences begin to happen. But to the one who imagined it, none of this feels surprising, because they already lived it first in consciousness. Even when nothing seems to be changing, you must continue imagining. Continue believing, continue holding the vision. Reality often takes time to catch up to the frequency of your inner world, but it always does. The key is to stay faithful, to hold the image with the same emotion and certainty regardless of appearances. Because appearances are not the truth. Your inner world is the truth, and your imagination is the creative workshop where all things begin. There is no limit to what you can create when you understand this. You can rewrite your past, reshape your present, and pre-design your future. You are never stuck, you are never trapped. You are simply imagining the same things over and over. Change the image and life follows. Train yourself to dwell only on what you want to experience. Starve the images of lack, fear, and failure. Nourish the visions of love, success, and peace. And above all, remember this. Your imagination is sacred. It is not make-believe. It is the blueprint of your destiny. Treat it with the power and respect it deserves, and it will return to you a life beyond your wildest dreams. Feeling is the engine behind all creation. It is the invisible current that turns mental pictures into living experiences. You may speak affirmations all day, think positive thoughts, or recite beautiful phrases, but if they lack feeling, they are hollow. It is not the words alone that carry power, it is the emotional energy behind them. Feeling is what signals to the subconscious mind that something is real. And once the subconscious accepts it as real, it begins to move everything necessary to make that reality visible. When you act as if everything always works out for you, it cannot remain an intellectual exercise. It must be felt in your bones, in your breath, in the rhythm of your daily life. That feeling of security, that confidence, that joy of already being where you want to be, that is what transforms a desire into destiny. Most people confuse desire with belief. They want something badly, but they don't feel it as true. They think about the things they hope will happen, But inside they still feel lack, they still feel worry, they still feel doubt. And so the signal they send into the universe is one of absence, not fulfillment. The feeling of wanting is not the same as the feeling of having. The feeling of hope is not the same as the feeling of certainty. You must shift from craving something outside of you to experiencing it within you. That's the secret. You must learn to conjure the emotional state of your desire fulfilled and rest there, not just for a moment, but long enough that it becomes your new normal. This is not pretending, this is not tricking yourself or playing make-believe. This is embodying a truth before the world can confirm it. This is about stepping into the role of the version of you for whom the outcome is already settled. You don't need to prove anything, you don't need to force it. You simply live from the feeling that it is already done. And this feeling then begins to orchestrate circumstances in your favor. Doors open, paths clear. Things that once felt stuck begin to shift, but all of it happens as a reflection of your inner state. Life mirrors the vibration you carry, not occasionally, but constantly. Feeling is the secret because it is the evidence of belief. You don't have to say you believe if you feel that you already have it. You must ask yourself, how would I feel right now if everything truly worked out for me? What would my body feel like? What would I stop worrying about? How would I walk into a room? What kind of energy would I give off? That's where the transformation begins, not in some distant future, but right now, in the way you carry yourself. Begin to feel the relief, the joy, the ease, and the celebration of a life that supports you. When you live in that feeling, you become a magnet for everything that matches it. So many people live in the feeling of frustration, of confusion, of fear, and then wonder why their life reflects it. But they have not yet learned to cultivate the emotional atmosphere of fulfillment. They wait for something outside to make them feel good, instead of realizing that feeling good is what brings the outside change. The cause is always internal. And when you learn to control your inner weather, the outer climate begins to cooperate. It's not that challenges stop coming, but your response to them changes. You meet them with grace, because your feeling remains steady. Your emotional state becomes anchored, not in circumstances, but in truth. Even when things appear to go wrong, even when outcomes seem delayed, you return to the feeling, you return to the knowing that all things are working out. And in that place, peace is restored. That peace becomes your power. You stop rushing, stop forcing, stop doubting. You begin to carry a quiet confidence that others can feel, even if they don't understand it. That is the power of felt truth. It doesn't require defense. It simply is. Feeling also has the power to bypass logic. You may not know how things will happen. You may not have the full picture, but if you feel it real, you don't need all the answers. You rest in the assurance that the answers will come. The mind loves logic and structure, but the heart knows what is real, even without explanation. When the feeling is strong, the mind begins to follow. It looks for evidence to support the dominant emotion, and soon life begins to deliver it. Coincidences, unexpected opportunities, moments of clarity, all flowing from the vibration you've chosen to live in. There will be times when it feels hard to hold the feeling, when the world feels heavy and the vision feels distant. That is when the real work begins. That is when you must choose to return again and again to the inner state, not by forcing, but by remembering. Remember what it feels like to be supported. Remember what it feels like to win. Remember the feeling of being loved, healed, understood, and elevated. That memory, when felt deeply, becomes a prophecy. It is not a wish, it is a signal. And that signal changes everything. Feeling is not optional in the process of creation. It is the fuel. It is what gives color and depth to the picture in your mind. Without it, your imagination is dry. But with it, the vision becomes alive. It breathes, it moves, it becomes magnetic. So train yourself to feel what you desire as though it were already yours. Live in that emotion. Let it soak into your habits, your conversations, your posture. Let it become the dominant frequency of your day. This is how transformation happens, not in a flash, not in a sudden miracle, but in a consistent alignment with the feeling of your fulfilled desire. You begin to act, think, and speak from the identity of the one who already has it. And as you do, you realize that the outer world has no choice but to adjust, because the outer is only ever the servant of the inner. And once the inner has accepted the new reality through feeling, the outer must bow to it. It cannot resist the energy of someone who lives as if all things are already working out, because for that person, they already are.